You shouldn't be afraid to get therapy, most definitely not. And if you are, that's something that you need to work on personally, because if you are afraid to get therapy, you are afraid to help yourself. Beloved, if you are afraid to help yourself, you ain't going nowhere. You're going nowhere in life. If you cannot help yourself, there are barriers that are not allowing you to help yourself. Self-love is the most important thing. You can't love anybody else if you can't love yourself. It's so cliche, but it's very damning and it's very truthful. I'm just sick and tired of this notion where if you're getting therapy, you're easily seen as someone who's mentally unwell. Even seeing somebody's mentally unwell, they're just banished from the family. They're seen as weird, disgusting, below, inferior, not well, not right in their head, ignored, treated badly. I'm sick of that bullshit. The stereotypes, it's just fucking irritating. I'm just done with it. Hey guys, it's Moran Rod. Hope you guys are doing well today. So I really wanted to get into this topic, and I have been thinking about it, doing it for a while, about mental health in Asian communities and how it really is under-examined and more so over-amplified in areas and sectors where it shouldn't be. And when somebody gives the notion of, oh, I'm in therapy, people think that person is not well. No, people can go to therapy even if they are well. People can go to therapy to maintain that wellness in them. So I find it quite hilarious when people talk about going to therapy. There's this massive stigma to it, that person isn't well, there's a dark cloud. Your judgment of that person changes. The inclination of that is just completely weird. They're different, they're wrong. All these harsh, negative, induced connotations are just immediately conditioned and attached to that person, and it really is disgusting, because if somebody's not mentally unwell, it doesn't mean that you treat them differently. The downright attitude towards somebody who's not mentally well, especially in communities, cultures, South Asian communities, their attitude is so constrained and it's disgusting. It needs to change, and by changing it, people need to discuss about it. They're not valued as much. Their marriage prospect is damaged. There's shame, there's secrecy around that person's mental illness. The family can then begin to isolate that particular person. There's some social form of conforming to it. You don't want some people to know what's going on with your child or going on with your relative or your cousin or so forth. You don't want people to know, or you become enablers. You become emotionally abusive enablers because certain negative guys are hanging around somebody, and the question is why? Because if my man was bleeding on the floor, you wouldn't be having that attitude. Because he's bleeding inside his mind, due to the chemical imbalance or so forth, there's some entire different discrepancy in attitude towards it, as if you don't know what the hell's going on. But yet you claim to be some lawyer, some accountant, you went to university, you did your PhD, you did all of this, but at the same time you don't know what's going on. You don't have the, I'm not saying that because you haven't graduated in those sectors, but you obviously have the ability to educate yourself because you have degrees, you have full-on jobs, lawyers, doctors, accountants. If you have the ability to become that particular person or to have that occupation, why do you not have the ability to understand what's going on with somebody who is not mentally well? People have to take, not even just that, people, the word, you're not mentally right. This is the term that a lot of people use to obviously take the piss out of somebody, and it really is ridiculous, but subjugating and marginalizing the people who actually do have mental health problems, and that's something that is just not funny at all. You are taking the piss out of the mental health community. That is just, there are a lot of issues when it comes to the whole mental health situation in South Asian communities, especially when it comes to the idea of somebody who's not mentally well and the attitude towards that person. Then you have the notion of somebody, you know, who is going to therapy, who openly admits it. Not only does this marginalize everybody, but also males, especially in these type of cultures, and then that can lead on to certain situations like suicide and depression, because you are understanding people's attitudes towards you because you're not well, and it only will make you feel even more worse off. And nobody's able to see that. They turn a blind eye, they ignore it, they see it as something else, something that will go away, you know, just adapt to that environment. They adapt to the aggression of that person if they're not mentally well, rather than helping to treat it and educating themselves. But in that same breath, they want people to become doctors and lawyers and, you know, accountants, and it's just ridiculous because the hypocrisy is absolutely mad. And another issue is when you speak up about situations like this, that is also a stigma, because when you speak up to somebody that is older than you, it's seen as a form of disrespect. Well, beloved, age and wisdom do not always correlate. We can all learn from each other. Just because you are older than me does not necessarily mean that you know more about me in every single sector of life. That's not how it works. People's lives are not only shaped by experiences, but also shaped by what we observe and how we choose to observe it, and what we read, and what we take the time to read and to understand. And I said before in previous videos, I don't need to walk in somebody's shoes to understand their struggle on a visibility basis. You can take the time to sit, read, observe and understand and think think before you speak. So I feel like that in itself is another massive issue as well, where speaking up about something is an issue because of age privilege. If somebody's older than you, they immediately know more than you, and therefore you are wrong, and therefore you cannot speak up. And that entire notion needs to be dismantled and broken. Obviously, there's a fine line between respect and a way to talk to somebody. Obviously, the way you talk to somebody, your approach should be positive, calm, collective, not rude because you feel like, just because you're older. Obviously, there's a way to talk to somebody, but just because you are older, beloved, it doesn't necessarily mean that you know more about me in every single sector of life, or if I know more about you, or any person, for example. Because I feel like age and wisdom definitely do not correlate. It definitely doesn't, and that is drilled into us, especially in certain cultures, Asian communities, and I feel like that in itself is another massive issue. Because as far as I'm concerned, if there's an older person who doesn't treat their son right because they're not mentally well, but then they claim to be so educated in life, clearly you're not really educated in life, and you turn a blind eye because it's induced in mental health communities where we don't apprehend and show the right attention, the sympathy, the need, the help to certain individuals who are not mentally well, because we cannot see it. We think they're crazy, that they are lost cause, and therefore we don't give them the attention they need to get better, or the environments that they need for them. So what really happens is you just become, when people who are not well or so forth begin to abusing other people, everybody else around them just adapts to that aggression, and therefore you become an enabler. You may not want to become an enabler, but that is what you have become. There's so many different branches when it comes to this. When it's about admitting therapy, the stigma that comes with that, speaking up about it, and the stigma that comes with that, and then the whole idea of people who are not mentally well in families in South Asian communities, and the stigma that comes with that, and the attitude towards that. All of this needs to be spoken about from people of all ages, and this entire notion needs to be immediately dismantled, reconstructed, and changed and healthy. People need therapy from the day they are born. Everybody needs therapy. Therapy isn't something that somebody needs because they are in dire help. That is one situation. If somebody is in dire health, of course they should go to the therapist depending on what they're going through. But people who are absolutely fine mentally, maybe have a few problems there, a few stresses there, acute stresses, they should also get a therapist. A therapist can be somebody who can maintain your wellness. Communicating with somebody is essential. If you believe that communicating with somebody in a relationship helps to make that relationship thrive, why don't we believe that communication is something that is essential in order to maintain our wellness and our well-being and our mental health? Where does that, certainly communication doesn't matter there, but it definitely matters for a relationship. But it doesn't matter when it comes to somebody who's not mentally well. Like, these stigmas are ridiculous, they're irritating, and they're drilled into us just as much as anti-blackness can be drilled into us as well, just as much as racism can be drilled into us, because white people aren't the only people who are socialized to be racist. A plethora of different communities and different shades of colours of people are as well, to a whole new point that they don't even know. It's not just like white people are racist, plenty of other people are as well. So I feel like this video I just wanted to get off my chest. I feel like it's a situation that I wanted to bring awareness to my channel, to my subscribers and anybody else who's not subscribed who view my videos. I feel like it is an essential topic that we all need to speak about, because I feel like it's just disgusting and it's just irritating, the amount of sheer ignorance, not only from people, but from people who claim to be educated. Beloved, you are clearly not educated if you're showing ignorance every single damn day. Think before you speak. Don't speak before you think. It's a massive, massive credibility for somebody if they're able to do that, or they think they are, because it adds so much value to someone's life when you're able to view the world before you begin speaking into this conversation. I feel like I wanted to begin this conversation, I wanted to spark an issue so that we can all speak about it. Do comment in the box below, irrespective of what type of culture or community or race that you are part of. I feel like it's an issue that we all need to speak about. Obviously I graduated in clinical psychology and cognitive neuroscience, so I do have some form of depth and understanding when it comes to this topic, and the whole idea of it being subjugated and marginalized and suppressed, especially in Asian communities, which I'm seeing. I feel like it's disgusting and it's just not right, and this stigma that is attached to somebody needs to be dismantled immediately in a matter of seconds, because I'm really not going to entertain it. If somebody uses the word "he's not mentally right" as a joke to cuss somebody out in front of me, it won't be tolerated, because you're taking the piss out of people who are not mentally well, and you're saying that person isn't mentally well, and that clearly isn't the truth. Please show me your degrees and qualifications of being a psychiatrist or being any form of a psychologist, then let me know, because other than that you can't be speaking nonsense like this. You're really undermining and saturating the notion of mental health, and I feel like it's absolutely disgusting and it needs to stop. And if I want to get therapy, I'll say it with my chest, and if you have some form of stigma or attitude towards me, that's something that you need to work on, part of the culture that is embedded within us. or if anybody else wants to get therapy. I feel like it's something that we all need. I feel like it's very important. Communicate with people and tell people how you feel, especially a professional. So I feel like I've been talking on and on and on. Let me know what you guys think of this particular video. I think I might do a few more related to this to some form of extent. Hit me up on my Instagram, please, and please do subscribe. I would appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll most definitely catch you guys soon.